created a video for parents with mental health and substance use challenges and their providers. We now invite you to explore our stories. Thank you.
So my name is Beth Stark. I am 40 years old. I have a 4.5-year-old son named Philip, and he is wonderful. My mental health issues probably popped up in my late teens and kind of came to a head after I had my son at age 36. It was at that point that I was eventually given a diagnosis of having postpartum depression, bipolar disorder, and I was in the throes of alcoholism. When we found out we were pregnant, I was over the moon. I elated. I had my son, and about 7 weeks after having him, the postpartum kicked in. And at that same point, I started drinking again. And it was during that time that I felt I lost complete control over who I was becoming.
I have 3 children. I have 2 with mental health issues. My substance use and my mental illness affected my parenting style tremendously. So my children had to fend for their own as far as fixing themselves something to eat, washing their own clothes, and taking care of themselves. In the early years, my relationship was very strained with my children. They did not trust me. And it came a time when my daughter became the parent, and she ended up taking care of me once I became very mentally incapacitated at one time.
I tried to keep my illness out of my parenting and not pulling my kids into my illness. That said, it definitely has affected my parenting. I started to suffer from intrusive thoughts. They became so bad that I couldn't interact with the kids at all for a while, so I just totally withdrew.
I'm a single mom. I raised my daughter. She's now 35, and she's really the star of my life. When I got sick, everything kind of fell apart. I lost my home, my doctoral program, and my job. I had to give my child to my parents for 2.5 years. It was a stressful time, but my daughter seemed to do okay because she could hold on to the fact that I was gonna see her every weekend. And I'd go through my mental health program, day treatment programs. As time passed, I was able to tell her that I was having a hard time thinking and feeling.
Okay, I'm Ann Whitman. I have a 35-year-old daughter, and I've been in recovery from mental health and substance misuse challenges for over 30 years. Well, at the age of 33, I had just given up nursing my baby daughter, and I began to feel that my office was under electronic surveillance. Within a year, I'd been fired from my job. I'd lost custody of my daughter, and most of my friends had given up calling me, and I was embroiled in a bitter divorce. I felt a tremendous amount of shame and loss, and I began to decompensate.
I didn't know who to tell that I had a problem. I was a brand new mom. Who do you go tell that you think your drinking's scaring you? So I went to a support group. No one was saying, I am drinking too much. My mood feels strange. I don't feel like myself. And so eventually I stopped going. Then the labels came out. Bad mom. You obviously don't love your son. How could you ruin everything like that? So you're feeling already terrible about yourself because you realize you have a lot of problems that you have to sort through. And everybody just thinks you're a bad mom. I know now that I wasn't a bad mom. I was a sick mom that needed help. And there's a big difference between the two.
Stigma was really difficult around the mental health challenges. In my community, a lot is not understood about mental health recovery. And in fact, it got so bad, like after I'd gone through that experience of what other people thought about me, I felt judged, I felt less than. I really felt hopeless. I just thought I'd never have another happy day. So that stigma, it almost took me out. That self-stigma and how other people responded to me. Everybody was focusing on what's wrong with me, not what's wrong with me. And I think what's helped, though, is by overcoming that and getting that peer support of being able to connect with other people going through similar stuff, it gave me strength.
So the parents of these children that were her friends were kind of like, who are you? They might not have known what my issues were, but there was that, alienation. I told one of the children's mothers one day that I had some issues. She got so scared. I could see it on her face, and she grabbed her children and brought them in like I was gonna hurt her children, and I would never hurt a child. She just totally didn't understand. That, I felt, was an inability on her part to see the real feelings that we have.
I was told that I couldn't talk to my daughter for 6 weeks while I was inpatient. They felt I needed to focus on my recovery. And I felt a certain amount of stigma not being able to talk to my daughter, and I could have used an advocate to help with communication. Other ways that I felt stigma was a tremendous amount of self-stigma. I was very shameful, and my daughter had a birthday, and it was during her time with her dad. And so I felt I couldn't give her a birthday party because she'd already had one with her dad, and I was the non-custodial parent. But I was attending a group called Mothers Without Custody, which was a community organization. And they convinced me that I could have a birthday party being a non-custodial parent. I was really that shut down. And so my daughter's favorite color was purple, and I threw her a purple birthday party. We had purple balloons, purple cakes, and it's one of the things that she remembers most.
My coworkers would say, oh, she's crazy, or she doesn't have the elevator going all the way up, and little comments that were very stigmatizing, like people with mental illness were not smart or were not normal. It was just a big stigma of being a parent with mental health issues and substance use abuse disorder.
There were a few folks who stopped talking to me. It seemed like it was more a loss of respect. There were folks where it just seemed a little overly sympathetic, like I was less. What I did, though, to try and overcome it was ignore it and to really try and focus on what I needed to do with the kids.
It's difficult to say to him anything in regards to like my substance abuse or my mental health. We will have the conversation with him when he's older, but other than that, there's not too much we've shared yet because he's small.
Little snippets, how I've had to deal with challenges, that it's okay to feel your feelings and that you can deal with them. He also knows that his mother and I are both in addiction, mental health, and trauma recovery, and he knows that we don't drink or use other drugs. So we talk about this stuff. We're open about it. He knows about recovery.
In the beginning, it was very, very hard, a relationship with my children, but today it's a lot better. What helped us was doing family counseling. By doing family counseling, we were able to talk to each other about things that we couldn't talk to each other without a therapist there. We were able to get out a lot of things that was bothering us that we didn't know. For example, I would always yell at my children. I never really talked to them. Well, out of family therapy, I started talking more, treating them more with respect, not swearing as much. So those were successes that I've gotten through the therapy of how to talk to my children. We're getting along so much better today now that we know about our diagnosis, and now that we know how to take care of ourselves, we're able to take care of each other.
The best reward of all of this is I hope another mother sees this, because I know that I needed more moms in my shoes. Life gets so much better, and my son is just walking proof of that. I didn't know that I'd ever get any of that back. I really didn't.